Hello, Loveland. I'm Mike Meldon, and this is your Loveland Weekly Podcast, brought to you by Gina Dubell-Smith, eXp Realty, and Stone Pillars Farm. Today, you'll hear my conversation with Jenny Carroll, the founder and president of the National Dressage Pony Club, or NDPC, a premier organization dedicated to providing competitive opportunities for ponies and small horses in dressage. Under her leadership, the NDPC has grown to become a significant national event, promoting the idea that height doesn't measure heart. And this year, you're going to be able to check out this event. It's going to be held in July, right up the road in Wilmington. In this conversation, we're going to discuss the sport, what is dressage, how you can get involved, and we're going to discuss the annual event. I hope you enjoy. First of all, why don't you tell me again where you're headed and what goes on there? What's that all about?
Well, I'm going to the United States Equestrian Federation convention in Louisville. And the United States Equestrian Federation is the governing body for all horse sport in the United States. So they oversee all the rules and maintain all the records for all of the disciplines, for all of the equine disciplines in the United States. So hunter jumpers, dressage, reining, my gosh, I can't even think of all of the different ones. Pretty much anything you can think of. There are a few independent ones, like horse racing clearly is not part of this.
Right.
They have their own thing, but they maintain all of the records and administrate all of the rules and things for equestrian sport. And the sport that I participate in or have a show that is part of that they oversee is dressage.
Okay. All right. Well, what would happen? What would go on this weekend when they go over rules? Are you going to different seminars or is it meetings or how does this work?
They have seminars
Mm-hmm.
where they talk about topics that are hot button topics in the equestrian world. Right now, the hot button topic is the equestrian sports and how do you keep them in a good light, put them in a good light in the public eye, because a lot of people see a lot of social media out there where people are abusing horses, or horses are being starved, and they all of the bad things that happen in the land of horses goes on, and the good things aren't as prevalent, I guess. Nobody really, we don't see that as much.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of armchair quarterbacks who don't know much about those sports.
Yeah.
Who have opinions about everything.
Yeah, and it's got to get so you guys you want to get the image back to where it's supposed to be, right? Get people to, yeah.
People were accustomed to seeing horses, maybe 50 years ago. We saw so many more horses. We were a much more agrarian, type of world then. And but now people rarely see horses.
Right. My grandfather was in the cavalry, and then when he came home from World War II, he had to have horses. He was like, I have to have a horse. So he had horses, and then my brother, growing up, got a horse and worked the stable. And then just recently, my brother's now in his mid-40s, but he's missed it. So he's just in the last 2 years, he's gotten 6 horses. He's got back into it just recently. So yeah, it's one of those things where it was out of my life, but it was one of those things where it was around for so long, and I don't know anybody now that has many horses. Now my brother's getting back into it, but I love them. I think they're phenomenal.
That happens.
Yeah,
that's what happens. That is sort of typical. I would say that a lot of people maybe have good experiences when they're children riding or taking lessons or showing, and then they start going into the real world where they have to go to college, get a job, and have families and all the things that cost so much money, and they don't have enough money
That's
to
what it is. Yeah.
afford a horse or
Hmm.
time to take care of one. And then they hit a certain point in their life, their kids are a little older, they have a little more stability, they have some money, and they want to buy a horse. And
That's
then,
exactly where it is, right?
right, and then they come back into it. And that's sort of what I did too.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Tell me your story. What is your story? And
My
yeah,
story
go ahead.
is, so I'm from Cincinnati. I grew up in Mount Washington, so sort of on the east side of town, um, back in the early 60s. So um, I rode a pony. My mom was a nurse, and she bought a off the track thoroughbred, and I had a little Shetland pony, and I we rode together, and it was a lot of fun. And then my pony passed away. He was an older pony, and I had other things happen in my life, and I, just like anybody else, when I then was in my teenage years, I hung out with some friends that had horses, and I would kind of just hang around the barn and ride whatever was there and whatever people would let me take care of, and I had a
Right.
good time. But after I had my kids, and my one daughter was probably 10 years old, she wanted to take riding lessons, and
Mhm.
I found Parky's Farm
Yeah.
up in Winton Woods, and we signed her up for lessons. And pretty soon, my mom, who had been riding, previously, she said, "Oh, I'll take lessons too." And I said, "Well, why not? I'll take lessons too." And so 3 people could have a semi-private riding lesson together.
Yeah.
So the 3 of us started doing that, and one thing led to another down the rabbit hole. Then we leased a horse, and then we bought a horse, and then we bought another horse. And I'm a relatively I'm a small person. I'm only 5 feet tall.
Mhm.
And big giant horses were just too much for me. I'd
Right.
be brushing their back, and the dirt would be coming off onto my head. It was like, it was silly. And so I tended to like the smaller horses.
Hmm.
And Connemara's or Halflingers or some of these other breeds that don't tend to be so large. And my kids, they were better suited for my kids to ride as well. Um, by the time we'd bought a horse, my daughter was very interested in dressage, and I always liked dressage. It had a correlation to me with ballet, which I loved because I danced when I was younger. I'm a designer by trade, so I design bridal gowns, evening gowns,
Oh, nice.
all kinds of gala big
Hmm.
fancy dresses and things like that. And so the way people looked when they rode, with their top hats and their tails and their white breeches and their shiny boots, and that really appealed to me.
Is
It had a
dressage another word for English saddle, or
no.
is that different? Okay.
It
So
is
I'm
it's
only
no
familiar because my brother growing up, the only thing I knew was English saddle or Western saddle.
Western saddle,
So
right?
can you explain
It's
what
an
is
English
dressage?
it's an English discipline.
Okay.
So dressage, the meaning of it is training
Okay.
in French. And it began as a way to train horses for battle. You would be able to use minuscule cues with your legs and with your rear end and your seat. Imagine your arms are full with a spear and
Hmm.
holding, say, the reins or something like that. And you have to go left really fast because somebody's coming at you with a spear,
Right.
or you have to jump over that thing like right now, or
Right.
you have to turn and head backward, do a 180 and go the opposite
I
direction.
wonder if
So,
that's what my grandfather, if they had to do that in the cavalry.
oh yeah,
Okay.
dressage was a big part of military training,
Okay.
and a lot of the sports that we still see now, like 3-day eventing,
Hmm.
arose from military training as
Hmm.
well.
Interesting.
So all of these things, harken back to they were something. The sport came out of something,
Yeah.
herding cattle, whatever you had to do.
Right.
So dressage became so distinctive in the movements and the way that they wanted these horses to look and behave. The French court, the Spanish court, you hear about the Lipizaners, that are in Austria. I mean, all of these, the courts of Europe had these very beautiful animals that were able to do these movements with the rider seemingly giving very subtle cues. And they would do it in groups, in formations, or as an individual animal. They would be doing it with the rider on the ground, giving them cues from the ground. I mean, so that training was, it started there.
That's neat.
And eventually, after a while, it became an actual sport.
Wow.
And so dressage is kind of, I explain it to people, it's kind of like figure skating in a way, back when they used to have the compulsory figures.
Right.
You had like a certain movement you had to do in a certain way and whatever. That's how you set up the arena. It has letters all the way around, and there's very specific patterns that you have to perform. And there's level from introductory level, which is a walk trot type of situation, and then as you move up the levels, the movements become more and more refined and difficult.
Nice. I'm going to have to look up some YouTube videos on this.
You will. There's some beautiful, and what people mostly like about dressage are the musical freestyles.
Okay.
And you'll see dressage in the Olympics, and also, in Europe, it's still a very well attended sport where it fills stadiums, and
That's
people go
neat
to watch. But
so
not so much here.
Is that okay? So the organization that you run, is that dressage?
It has to do with dressage. So as my daughter started competing in dressage in competitions, I realized that my ponies and my smaller horses were not going to be as competitive as these big warm bloods that came from Europe, or that were bred specifically to this purpose, which tended to be very large, big moving animals. And ponies and smaller horses, obviously, because they're smaller, sometimes don't have the suspension,
Right.
They don't get as much air off the ground when they trot.
Sure.
Or they just don't move in the same way. And so they're at a disadvantage when they go into a class when there's like 10 warm bloods and then there's 2 ponies. And you just kind of get a whole lot of, oh, isn't that pony's tail pretty? Or how cute is that? How cute are you on your pony? And it irritated me.
Sure. You were there competing, right?
Exactly. We spent the same amount of money on our saddles and our training and the feed and the trailer and all the different things.
And you're not taken seriously, right?
And we're not taken seriously. So at one point, one night, over a bottle of wine with a friend, we came up with this concept of what we called the National Dressage Pony Cup.
Okay.
And what that would be is you would be in a regular show with big horses, but there would be distinct classes where just the ponies could compete against themselves. And that way the playing field would be a little more level for them. And we would give them special prizes aside from the classes that they might be in with the horses. And that eventually grew to other shows offering pony classes within them, and then to having a year-end award program, which we just wrapped up. I just got all of the ribbons mailed out. And so we have an annual show that we now put on up in Wilmington, Ohio.
Oh, nice.
At the World Equestrian Center. So not that far from you.
When is that?
So that's over the 4th of July weekend.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Gina was telling me about that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to make sure we can check that out. Okay.
Yeah, so it's the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of July.
Okay.
And there's a breed show on Sunday. And on Friday and Saturday, there's all of the classes, musical freestyles. We run 9 rings We are probably one of the largest, if not the largest, dressage show in North America.
Wow.
By volume of animals, in a 3-day weekend.
That's phenomenal.
So people are welcome to come, and
Yeah.
they can watch. It's free. It's not, you don't have to pay admission. And, we'd like to have people sitting in the seats and
Yeah, for
watching the
anybody
sport.
listening right now, I will make sure in the newspaper that we and I'm sure Gina's going to remind me too. I'll have it up there in a big reminder in another article that comes out this summer, closer to the time, to get to round people up, because that sounds like you said. It's something that was really part of our culture that's kind of gone away a little bit. I know when Gina mentioned that the polo ground, it's so sad that the polo grounds here were gone,
Yes.
but when she said there were polo matches here, it blew my mind. And me and the family went up to a couple of those, and I was just like, this is great. Part of the
Right.
culture that we lost. And it's sad that it's gone. Hopefully we get it back here soon. But this sounds like the same type of thing. I think people have some kind of inner urge to be around. I don't know. Maybe I'm just making that up, but it was such a part of us, and it's missing. It feels like a missing part of the culture that I think people
Right.
are headed back to that.
Well, I mean, if you have been around horses,
Mm-hmm.
or some people have this relationship with dogs or cats, or any kind of animal, but horses, I don't know, there's just something about them
Mm-hmm.
where they just look at you
Mm-hmm.
with such intelligence, and they get it.
Mm-hmm.
They understand what you want them to do.
And you're working together.
Right. And that's the way the sport is different than other sports, say,
Right.
at the Olympics. It's not just, can I run faster than that guy?
Yeah.
It's, will this animal cooperate with me to produce something that is incredible?
And you practice together, and that's amazing.
Right.
That's
and
really
you go
cool.
up front, and you're with these animals practically every day. You
Mm-hmm.
have to care for them, and be training them just like any other athlete would, and you train yourself as well.
Yeah.
So dressage lives in its own little. It's its own sport.
Okay.
There are other sports like eventing, 3-day eventing,
Mm-hmm.
which has 1 day of dressage, 1 day of cross country, where they're running like a 2-mile, or I don't know, it might be more than that actually, course, jumping over things like the size of a car.
Wow.
And they do this down at the Kentucky Horse Park. I think it's called the Defender 3-day event now. It started out as Rolex, and then it went to, it was Land Rover, and now it's Defender.
I remember back in the Rolex days when it was.
And then the
That's
third event they do is stadium jumping.
Oh, wow.
So, so each sport, there's like a myriad of sports,
Mm-hmm.
and they all contain some aspect of them would be improved by a horse learning dressage.
Mm-hmm.
The control and the listening, to your rider, and being able to ride without yanking on the horse's mouth with your hands.
Right.
Being able to use your seat and your legs.
It's like that, almost like the necessary communication and intricacies that go into all the other ones. It's like the basis.
They may use them, the aids, a little bit differently, say in roping or reining or in a bunch of other different disciplines.
Sure.
But they all are basically the same thing. When I put my leg on your left side, you're going to go to the right.
Mm-hmm. Right.
When I put my right leg on, you're going to go to the left. When I tell you, when I put it here, you're going to go faster. When I slow my seat down, or the motion of my seat, you're going to go slower. It just, all of it, the learning part of it is people like it, I think, because it's very cerebral. They like the connection they have with the animal, and figuring out how to communicate non-verbally.
So you have to own a horse, though. Is there any way? Are there any way to get involved if you don't have a horse?
Well, there are some lesson barns
Yeah.
around, and
And
that's
you can
kind of
kind of go and learn on other people's horses until you.
right. A lot of people there, if you're a competition barn, for
Mm-hmm.
example, where most of the horses are owned by people who are currently in competition, going to shows and things like that, sometimes they might have a horse or two that are wonderful, teachers that have been there, done that, got the t-shirt, and you'd work with that trainer and you'd learn how to ride and
Mm-hmm.
take lessons. um, there's fewer and fewer of those, though. Fewer
Yeah.
and fewer lesson barns,
That's a
because
shame.
people worry about the insurance and the
Mm-hmm.
liability,
Oh, that makes sense.
and with all of the problems with people doing things to children that are
Mm-hmm. Sure.
untoward,
All
or
everything. You got to worry about
you know
everything these days, right?
right. So people are a little leery of things like that. However, I'm sure there are barns in the area that still do that. And
Mm-hmm.
then people often, if somebody has a horse, say that's they're no longer riding, or they've moved on from, the horse has gotten older, but they still have plenty of use left in them, they will lease them
Okay.
to someone. You can
Gotcha.
lease a horse, and then you
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was thinking, because I'm looking back. That's what my brother did, and my brother was young. My brother was probably 12 or 13, and he said, I want to do this. And I think that's the route we took. Is he would clean stalls there and take care of horses, and then leased it for a little while until he was like, all right, yeah, this is something we want to do, and then we were able to purchase it. It's just one of those things. It's hard, like you said. There's so much working against the industry, the finances, the other things that are
right.
going bad, but then, oh man, but maybe we could, like you said, you want to work on a resurgence too. It's
Right.
how to get
So
people back.
one of the reasons, the primary reason I'm actually going to this convention, and I want to be there tomorrow, because they're having an open forum about how to make equestrian sport more affordable, less
Yeah,
expensive.
right.
Because that's one of the major complaints that people have, is just to go to one show, by the time you pay all of the entrance fees and the stabling fees and all of the things, you're talking about at least $1,000
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
per animal,
Wow.
so, and if you're taking 3 or 4, you just multiply that.
Mm-hmm.
And so people want, a lot of people who are in these equestrian sports, this is not their job.
Right.
They're doing this because they love it, and this is their other place they go for relaxation
Sure.
and fun. And when you're spending that kind of money, and then you go someplace and the event is just kind of perfunctory,
Right.
like, oh, go in, ride your horse, go back to your stall and be quiet,
Mm-hmm.
then it's no fun.
Yeah, you're losing what you went for, right? How many years has this been going on now? How many years have you held this?
We started the first year, we incorporated in 2007.
Okay.
um,
Wow.
2008 was our first year. We did it at Majestic Farm, or Paxton Farm, which is now Majestic Farm, which is out on the east side of town.
Mm-hmm.
And then we moved up to what was then Roberts Arena, which is now World Equestrian Center. They've
Okay.
still same family. They just
Right. They own everything right around there.
right. They overhauled that and made it really nice. And then we went down to the horse park, and we were down at the horse park for quite some time. And then we've been all over. We went up to Lamplight, which is in Chicago.
Oh
We went to
gosh.
St. Louis to the equestrian center there, St. Louis Equestrian Center. And now we're back at the World Equestrian Center, which I hope we will stay at for, for as long as we can, because it's within 40 minutes of my house.
Yeah.
And it's convenient, and it's a really beautiful, beautiful facility.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad it's back here too. I can't wait to check it out. So, anything else you want to add? Anything else people need to know about any of this before I let you go?
Well, let's see. I think I would encourage people to to watch something on television, like watch some dressage, like maybe they saw Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg
Yeah.
On the Olympics. They were dressed up on the sidelines,
Right.
and they were watching and everything like that. And I think this sport gets a little bit of it looks stuffy, and it looks a little bit snobby, I guess.
Yeah.
But honestly, it's really not. People are very friendly and they work very hard, and they just have a certain costume or that they wear
Right.
that makes them look extremely elegant. So yeah, and you can go on our Facebook page.
Okay.
It's our National Dressage Pony Cup.
Okay.
We also are on YouTube. We're also on Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, well, great. Yeah, I'll follow you. Well, it was very nice meeting you and talking to you, and hopefully I'll get to meet you this summer, and then have fun this weekend.
I will do my best.
Loveland's own Railway Barbershop, right around the corner from Paxton's in downtown Loveland, is open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Now, this isn't your standard barbershop. It's a whole vibe. Great music, local art, a pinball arcade, and even free beer while you wait. At Railway Barbershop, everyone is welcome. It's your hometown shop, comfortable, creative, and fun. And yes, all arcade games are free play. So book your next cut and use the code FROGMAN for $5 off. Limit 1 per customer. The Railway Barbershop. Make it your first choice for a quality cut at a place that's fun, unique, and special right here in Loveland. Looking ahead in Loveland, the City Hall Art Gallery, preserving place, watercolor, memories of home and history. Joy Osborne invites you to join her in celebrating the beauty of our shared heritage and the power of art to keep memory alive. Her amazing watercolors will be shown at City Hall in their art gallery from January 10th till March 14th, so make sure you check it out. And today I'm starting something a little bit new. I'm calling it Mike's Commentary, a little nod to Jerry's commentary for those of you that go way back to when Jerry Springer was on Channel 5 News, and I think he did it again on his syndicated TV show. But I'm going back to the first one. And so my idea is I'll take a few minutes each episode to reflect, or maybe not every episode, I don't know, to reflect on local issues that I believe matter. And I'm putting it at the end of each episode so that those of you that don't want to hear my opinions can listen to the content without having to listen to this. They don't have to waste their time. And no hard feelings there whatsoever. So this is Mike's Commentary. Just one perspective offered in good faith for the good of Loveland. Today I'm going to talk about the launch of our new local newspaper, the Loveland Daily, and why it exists in the first place. This paper came about because many people in the community approached me and a few others who would later become the founders of the newspaper about the need for a comprehensive local newspaper. People wanted a single place they could count on for all kinds of local news here in Loveland. City government, schools, local voices, community events, and everyday stories that shape who we are. That community need is what sparked this effort. Since the launch, we've received a great deal of support, and I want to sincerely thank everyone who's given us a chance, offered encouragement, shared ideas, contributed content, or helped spread the word. Starting something new is never easy, and the support we've felt so far has been both meaningful and motivating. And we didn't expect much less coming from such an amazing community. That's why we did it. We love this community. We truly appreciate everyone who has helped us take these first steps. Now, at the same time, there were criticisms, and I'd like to kind of address those a little bit, particularly even before we launched. We heard that the paper is probably going to be biased, or that people should be very cautious because the people that were the founders, mainly myself, were willing to criticize city council, I think were the words I used. And I think I'm going to address that openly. But first, our goal is simple. This is the main important part. Our goal is to create the best possible newspaper for the people of Loveland. And you can only have that if you're fair. So we're going to strive to be fair. We're going to listen carefully, and we're going to work to include a wide range of voices and perspectives. And believe me, we have actively been reaching out to different community groups, elected officials, different residents and invite them to participate to get their voices heard. Sometimes we hear back and sometimes we don't. But the effort is there. We are trying to be inclusive and make that a part of who we are. If one side reaches out more than the other, we can't do much about it. So this is a call to you. If you see a perspective and you would like to write to us and be a part of the conversation and give your side, the doors are open. So please send us in a section we're calling Community Voices. Give us your opinion. We are open to hear it. Now, as long as it's not, attacking or misleading, it's going to go up. We want to hear from you. And so our goal is not to be biased by any means. Now, criticizing decisions made by City Council does not mean that I or any of us disrespect the people that serve on the council. Most of the councils personally are friends of mine. I respect them, and I agree with the majority of what they do. When criticism is offered, it's about usually specific decisions, not character in almost every situation. Disagreement does not make someone an enemy. It makes them an engaged, caring citizen. And I believe that's what I am. And I believe that other founders are also. Healthy communities allow room for differing viewpoints without turning those differences into division. You can challenge ideas, have honest conversations, and still move forward together with mutual respect. I'm grateful to the council members who reached out to me after the last podcast to talk things through. Those conversations matter, and they reflect the kind of dialogue that keeps a community strong. Special shout out to Mr. Goodyear and Mr. Bateman here. They realize where I'm coming from and offered up good conversations. We don't agree on everything, but that's okay. It's how society is supposed to work. I'm genuinely optimistic about this newspaper and what it can become and the role it can play in our city's future. Our hope is that it serves as a trusted source of information, a place for thoughtful discussion, and a reflection of the many voices that make this community what it is. And I hope you can join us on our journey and check us out at www.lovelanddaily.com. And that's my commentary, my perspective, offered in good faith for the good of Loveland. We have something truly special here in Loveland. Thank you for listening, and have a great week. And very importantly, this episode was produced and engineered by Mike Meldon right here in Loveland. And please note that the opinions expressed in these podcasts do not necessarily represent the views of our sponsors, our newspapers, the other founders, or the organization. Thank you.